We're skipping the usual pleasantries today. We need to talk immediately about a biochemical hack that is actively operating inside the minds of over 1 billion people at this very second. We're looking at a highly engineered rapid strike mechanism, one that infiltrates the central nervous system with absolutely terrifying efficiency. It takes exactly 7 seconds for a puff of smoke to completely alter your brain chemistry, making nicotine faster and more addictive than almost any drug on the black market. Just really think about that time frame for a second. 7 seconds. That is the intimate, terrifying speed of this threat. It doesn't ask for permission, it doesn't build up slowly. It literally breaches your blood-brain barrier before you've even fully exhaled.
Okay, let's dive into this. The 7-second hijack. How it infiltrates the bloodstream.
So at 0 seconds, the smoke is inhaled. Now your lungs are these massive, highly efficient surfaces meant to absorb oxygen, right? But here, they act as the perfect, wide-open gateway for a drug. By 3 seconds, it's already absorbed into the pulmonary vein. At 5 seconds, it enters your arterial circulation, and at 7 seconds, boom, it penetrates the brain. In pharmacology, they call this massive rapid spike the bolus. It's this highly concentrated wave of nicotine that just floods your central nervous system all at once, creating a sudden, violent shift in your neurochemistry.
That brings us to the dopamine illusion and how it hacks your reward system.
The prime target of this hack? Nicotinic acetylcholine receptors, or NACHRs. Usually, these receptors are just sitting on your neurons, waiting for a natural neurotransmitter called acetylcholine to come along and trigger normal synaptic signaling. But nicotine? It acts as a master chemical imposter. It perfectly mimics acetylcholine. Specifically, it hunts down the alpha-4 beta-2 receptors in a sensitive part of the brain called the ventral tegmental area, and it just slides right into the receptor's lock like a stolen key.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact chemical cascade that follows. Step 1. The imposter nicotine binds to the receptor. Step 2. This binding violently forces ion channels to snap open, allowing a sudden, massive rush of sodium and calcium into the neuron. And step 3, that electrical charge triggers an artificial flood of dopamine directly into your nucleus accumbens. Now, that's the reward center of your brain. Normally, dopamine signals a genuine, natural achievement, like eating a good meal or surviving a threat. But here, nicotine is literally tricking your brain into feeling a false sense of achievement. You get this mild euphoria, heightened arousal, decreased stress, but it's all completely artificially engineered by the molecule.
But wait, the hack goes even deeper into your brain's natural control systems. See, you have natural brakes, called GABA, and a natural accelerator, called glutamate. When nicotine is hanging around in your system, something incredibly sneaky happens. The GABA-mediated inhibition, your brakes, actually starts to diminish because those specific receptors get desensitized. But the glutamate-mediated excitation, the accelerator, persists. So nicotine literally cuts the brakes while keeping the accelerator pinned to the floor. This completely amplifies that dopamine illusion, pushing your neurons into absolute overdrive.
Which leads us to the brutal withdrawal cycle, the biological crash.
The contrast in these time frames is just staggering. That intense dopamine rush from the arterial peak, it has a half-life of just 45 seconds. It is incredibly fleeting. But then, as the drug moves through the body, you hit the blood half-life of about 2 hours. This is where multi-exponential elimination kicks in, happening mostly in the liver, driven by an enzyme called CYP2A6. And as that nicotine is rapidly cleared out, your artificial dopamine plummets, hard, and the somatic crash begins. Now, during this crash, your brain is actually trying to fight back against the hack, and it does this through a literal structural alteration. Because the receptors have been totally overstimulated, they undergo desensitization, meaning they become temporarily inactive. Your brain senses this sudden deficit and essentially says, hey, we need more receptors to catch whatever neurotransmitters are left. This is called upregulation. The brain physically adds more acetylcholine receptors. But here's the insidious trap. With millions of new, empty receptors crying out for stimulation, you now require more and more nicotine just to feel a normal baseline level of function.
And if those millions of receptors stay empty, a brutal withdrawal crash sets in. Listen, withdrawal isn't just an annoying side effect. It is a severe biological deficit. Your heart rate actually drops. You suffer from severe anxiety, irritability, depressed mood, dysphoria, and this intense, overwhelming physiological craving. Your brain is desperately crying out for dopamine stabilization because its natural systems have been structurally rewired by the hacker.
So who built this? Engineered for addiction, the architects of the hack.
It's honestly shocking when you stop to think about it. I want you to ask yourself, why did the tobacco industry spend decades chemically modifying cigarettes to make nicotine hit the brain even faster? I mean, if the plant was already addictive on its own, why pour billions into altering its core chemistry?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that independent evidence and internal industry documents reveal a staggering truth. A modern cigarette is not just a rolled-up leaf. Not even close. It is a highly engineered drug delivery system. They rigorously controlled the physical properties, the pH levels, and the chemical additives specifically to maximize the impact of nicotine on the human brain. They didn't just want to deliver the drug, they wanted to deliver it with explosive speed.
The chemistry we're looking at here is literally weaponized. By adding ammonia compounds, the industry intentionally increases the pH, or the alkalinity, of the smoke. What this does is convert the nicotine into an uncharged form known as freebase nicotine. In fact, the World Health Organization and the Surgeon General compare this exact process directly to freebasing cocaine to make crack. It allows the nicotine to be absorbed dramatically faster, delivering a nearly instant explosive hit to your nervous system. And on the flip side, adding sugars doesn't just make the harsh smoke easier to inhale deeply into your lungs. When those sugars are burned, they form acetaldehyde, a chemical that works synergistically to further enhance the addictive effects of the nicotine.
But this architectural blueprint didn't just disappear. No, it evolved perfectly into the modern era of vaping. The delivery device changed, sure, but the underlying pharmacological blueprint remained exactly the same. Modern vapes utilize nicotine salts to perfectly optimize that rapid delivery curve, that bolus we talked about earlier. By manipulating the chemistry, they circumvent the natural harshness of raw nicotine, which allows users to inhale absolutely massive concentrations comfortably. It perfectly mirrors the addictive dopamine spike of traditional combustion. It ensures that the cellular, biological aspects of addiction remain perfectly, ruthlessly intact.
So the crucial takeaway here is this. You are dealing with a chemically weaponized molecule that is literally designed to hijack your reward system in 7 seconds flat. If an entire industry spent decades engineering this trap for the last generation, you really have to ask yourself, what on earth are they engineering for the next? Understanding the very real mechanics of this hack is the absolute first step to beating it. Do not let a molecule run your life. Subscribe today to unlock more science behind your habits.